The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acomb, and this is our Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. And we are in the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, James Kuhl returns. Welcome back.
Good morning, Frank. How are you?
Good, I'm doing great. Let's start with a disclaimer. I do live in the town of Erwin. I'm on Erwin Town Board. I serve with you. So I'm trying to keep these questions for all three candidates as similar as possible. But yours changed last time, and it's going to change again this time because I ask only the tough questions. You know that. That's I've got the reputation for that. How did the Little League team do?
Well, it was a huge success.
Okay, good.
And I'll tell you why. It's because we had two kids on the team that by the end of the last game got their first hits.
Oh,
and
congratulations.
boy, that kind of joy, it just makes you want to keep coming back and doing it.
Can't be matched.
We also happened to win a few games, so that was great too.
Good, that's bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
Bonus at that
It was
point.
a bonus.
All right, but on the serious note, yes, of course. I wanted to see how the team went. Okay, so tell us about your background for those of us that don't know.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm originally from Hammondsport. I moved to Erwin around 10 years ago, roughly. My wife and I, we're raising three boys who are all at home right now, out of school. But we chose Erwin here because as we started to look at places that we thought were great for raising a family, Erwin was the spot.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we live there. I work for a business software company that's based out of Horseheads. Okay. So I do data analysis. I'm a consultant. I work with clients to really use data to help them perform better in their various sectors. Mm-hmm. And for when I moved in, I immediately volunteered. Yeah. And mm-hmm. the town very well.
Yes,
so they always find a place for warm bodies.
Yeah, they sure do.
And so I was able to join the planning board for 3 years there, mm-hmm. and then about 4 years ago, roughly 4 years ago was when a town board opening mm-hmm. and the county legislature spot opened up, and I ran then and have been serving at the county and at the town level for the past 4 years.
And now you're obviously the incumbent, so it's a little weird to ask you this question, sure. But why are you running again for Steuben County? I ask everybody why you decided to run, and why are you running for re-election?
So there's plenty of work left to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, is that I'm happy with how things went for the past 4 years, was able to accomplish some good things for Erwin, mm-hmm. for the county. And so that's really why I'm motivated to say, there's still problems. There's still things to address. Mm-hmm. I know we're going to get into it, but in the campaign, mm-hmm. you get to go around and talk to people, yes, and knock on their doors, mm-hmm. and you really start to hear more and more about certain issues that are negatively impacting their lives.
Of course.
And so it's how do you take those insights, take them back to the county, take them to the town, and say, let's figure out a way to either address this. Yeah. Who do we need to bring in? How do we start to help solve and relieve the burden that is on our residents? Now,
and I can jump ahead because that's a great segue into that. But no, you're fine. Everybody knows my questions now. I'm getting old hat. But when you talk to voters and they have the concerns, I'm sure it could be a little different than maybe what you deal with behind the scenes, what your concern is as a legislator. So let's start there. What are the voters' concerns?
Affordability.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. That's every time I walk up to someone's driveway, knock on their door, say, what's going on with your life? What keeps you up at night? Yeah. And it's costs. It's affordability. It's how do you expect to continue to have various taxes and cost rise, mm-hmm. and whether it's salaries or if they're we have a number of residents that are seniors that are on fixed income. Mm-hmm. They're getting squeezed. They are. And so it's how do we at the county level, how do we control the costs that we can control? Mm-hmm. How do we cut costs where we can? How do we find efficiencies and optimize the programs and services that are being offered? If they're not being utilized, do they still necessitate investment? It's starting there, and that's what I hear every time. And I've been going out every day and knocking on doors, and that's what I do here when I'm out there.
Well, behind the scenes, what do you think are some major issues that we're dealing with in Steuben County?
Homelessness would be one that is and I say that for a couple of reasons, right? On a social services side, it's a huge draw of our people at the county, our resources at the county. It also can have quality of life implications, right down near the Addison town line where we do house some homeless here in Erwin. There have been criminal activities that are being perpetrated on the neighbors to the places that we're housing. The numbers aren't going down; they're going one direction. And what we have to do is start to figure out what are some of the, and this is not just a local, this is a state, this is a national issue, and no one person has the answer, but how do we here start to address it in the way that we can at Steuben County? Because it's impacting Cornell, it's impacting Bath, it's impacting Corning, it's impacting Painted Post. There's big dollars behind it too. So we're already at year to date, as of April, we had $2 million that we've spent at the county to house roughly 800 homeless persons in the county, not just here in Painted Post or Erwin, but all across the county. So that's one of the things where you're talking about dollars that are required to be spent, people hours of addressing some of the concerns that the homeless have, whether it's helping them get jobs, getting placements, helping them, medical attention, any of those sorts of things. But then you're talking about how else does it impact those surrounding the areas that we are housing in. So that would be one. It's a really big issue because it's on every level, but it doesn't get as much attention unless you happen to be living right nearby where they are being housed.
I was going to say, when I first got on the town board, a lot of times constituents don't reach out. Sometimes they do.
Yep.
That was the biggest concern I got right out of the gate, people contacting, because it does affect, there's so many, like you said, different levels of how it affects people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a multi-pronged problem, and there won't be a simple solution. That's the other thing, is that it's not going away. So it's how do you start to come up with a strategy of maybe attack it here a little bit, attack it there. That way you can start to start to help alleviate the burden it places on everybody.
I agree. Now, there's a couple big issues that what comes up with the county. And number one, we talked about it last time, flooding. And since the last time you were on the program, oh my goodness, I saw we had people sending, especially up by Cuca, sending me photos. Oh my gosh, there's rivers driving through. So what is the county doing to, you can't stop flooding, I suppose, but to better mitigate the problem?
So I think this is where it comes with partnerships, right? We at the county, we don't operate in isolation. Right. We rely on state partners. We rely on federal partners to be able to help kind of attack these types of problems. And we have great people in place, not only here at the county with soil and water, but with public works. But we're also talking about in the assembly, with Bill and Joe Sempolinski, and then you've got Tom O'Mara, big champions, and obviously for these types of issues. Now, I was in Hammondsport yesterday morning and we had a small business roundtable. So we've started this series of bringing small business owners together to try to understand what kind of challenges they're facing, and what came up was around flooding. Around how do we work with the county and soil and water to alleviate, because we're talking about also, it's not just a barbershop. We're talking about farms. We're talking about crops that have very big economic impacts for our area. So
great point.
It again, multi-pronged, but it's a huge issue that we need to keep working with those that have the resources and try to help advocate and say, you can't forget about us here in Steuben County. We deserve to have investment here. We deserve to have those assets deployed here, and this is where together we can start to really kind of fix this problem. Driving here right now, the river is brown and it is high, and you can see those trees that are just flowing right on through. So it's a problem that's not going to go away anytime soon. So we do really need to continue to look at it.
The next other issue, we talked about it last time as well, but just to get your opinion on it, the county and the identification issue with the sheriff.
Yeah, sure. So I think I said last time, this is really, in my view, around eliminating liability risk because of the way that we what I said at the beginning around affordability. As taxpayers, here we can't afford, we're taxed so high that we can't afford additional costs that come down. And so that, I think, one of the issues there is really around trying to eliminate the risk of any huge, big number litigations that come through the county being passed down onto our taxpayers.
Now let's talk about some of the fun stuff. How's the campaign going?
Campaign's going great.
Yeah.
We're having a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. So
You guys got the I was talking off the air. You got the worst weather though. It feels like it's primary season. Not today. But
well, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to wear the big puffy coats.
Petition,
right now.
I meant. Yeah, I'm
But,
not you can tell where my head's at. Yeah.
But absolutely. I mean, the rain always, keeps people from opening their doors at the same time. It doesn't stop me from going out and knocking on doors.
No.
And that's really the importance.
That's what it's about.
Is getting out and saying, listen, here is what's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to learn what's important to you and see if we can't figure out how to work together to keep moving Erwin and Painted Post forward. And that's what's great about it is that, we've had a couple of campaign events, right? Yep. I've been going to Jelly Beans and sitting there and having coffees with.
Oh, that's
with
hardly
folks.
work.
Well,
I get a big breakfast and I count that as work.
They do such a good breakfast
They do.
too.
Oh.
And it's big. Yeah, that's
yeah.
what you always gotta love about it. But it's been a lot of fun. And
How was Colonial Days?
Colonial Days was excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm
It
glad
was
they're
even
bringing it
better
back.
than last year.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if did you get a chance to go over?
I didn't this year.
So
Last year
they
I got
had
a little bit.
the pageant, Miss Colonial Days pageant.
I went to that because
Thursday.
my friend that I used to work with was the ringleader of it, Elisa.
Okay, yes,
So
yes.
they had a great turnout for that.
Yeah, exactly. And then they had the Rock the Block the next night, which they had a great
Oh,
turnout
good.
because they've moved it from the parking lot
Yeah.
into the gazebo, which is a good venue
Yeah.
for it. And then great turnout. The rain held off, thankfully, on Saturday
Good.
for the parade.
Yeah.
But even more people than there was last year. And
That's
I know
great.
they're talking
building it
with
up.
Painted Posts, Parks and Art. They are just trying to build it back,
Good.
just trying to get it there.
That's good.
And then they had the marching band competition right after the parade and the chicken barbecue.
Oh yeah.
So they did an excellent job, and so Colonial Days is fun.
I'm glad they're bringing it back. We were at here at the station. We were at the cardboard boat regatta.
Oh, you went to the regatta, yeah.
So because
okay.
we
so,
filmed it, so
that's a
I
draw
missed it.
too.
Yeah, I know. But I think
that water must.
I'm glad that. Oh my gosh, can you imagine how cold it was? It was. And speaking of all the debris and everything in there,
I bet.
because at that point the boats weren't allowed. I don't think on the lake.
Was the temporary kind of restriction was on?
Yeah. So what is your less than a week? Oh my gosh, Tuesday is primary day. What does that look like from now till Tuesday for you?
So continuing to get out. Try to hit as many doors as possible. That's really what's important to me is getting out and hearing directly from voters, and not just voters, residents, anybody. I mean, and that's just it. And so we've got
couple days.
only a couple days left. It seems like it flew by.
Oh my gosh.
And so I just say a quick thank you to my supporters so far. They've been great getting yard signs out. If anybody wants a yard sign for 4 days, happy to just hit the website jameskuhlforerwin.com and we'll get one to you right away.
You keep jumping ahead on my questions.
I'm
How
sorry.
can people help and find out more?
I'm just trying to make it a little easier.
I know.
We'll keep
breeze
this
through
thing
this.
seamless.
Yeah.
So I am on Facebook at James Kuhl for Erwin is my Facebook page, but also jameskuhlforerwin.com. But at the same time, you can find my cell phone and email that are on the county website. I am absolutely open to what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's please reach out.
There's no excuse, right?
If there is something you would like to talk about.
All right.
Going forward.
The big question: what do you say to voters before they head to the booth on Tuesday?
Right. So I think this is where I've sitting in the position that I've been in for the last 4 years. I've really learned what it takes to be effective, and it's not just showing up and saying yay or nay. Right. You really have to take an active approach, and you have to be active in the community. So, for example, this is just one good example because I recently reached out and met with Congresswoman Claudia Tenney's office to fight for what was something that was potentially going to be eliminated out of that tax reconciliation bill, which is what's called the Social Security Block Grant Funds. It's only $1.2 billion, but that's nationwide. But what's important is that we get a small sliver of that money, and what the Department of Social Services uses that money for here in Steuben County is to keep kids from having to go into the foster system.
Oh, wow.
And then if they're foster kids, it's helping them place them.
Okay.
So even this small amount of money has immense direct impact on families here in Erwin, in the county. And so it's that kind of thing where you have to go the extra mile. And that's how you're going to help make Erwin, in my view, a better place to live and a better place to raise a family. And so that's what I would hope people would keep in mind, is that what you want is someone that's a strong fighting voice for you, and to be effective to help us out in what I hope is a vibrant and prosperous community.
Right.
So,
well, James Kuhl's been our guest. Thanks so much for being on the program. Best of luck on Tuesday.
Thank you so much.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.